What if I told you that a powerful CEO, a man who thought money could solve everything, was brought to his knees by his daughter's tragedy, and that the person who saved her wasn't a doctor, wasn't a therapist, but a struggling single dad with nothing but a heart full of hope? Tonight, I'll take you through a story of despair, courage, and the miracle of love, the kind that reminds us no amount of wealth can replace the power of kindness. This is the story of a paralyzed girl, a desperate father, and the man who whispered, "I'll help her." Richard Hayes was the kind of man who owned the city skyline. A billionaire CEO, his company's name glowed in blue neon at the top of every glass tower downtown. To the world, he was untouchable, driven, confident, and impossibly rich. But behind the tinted windows of his penthouse, his world was collapsing. His only daughter, Emily, once the lively light of his life, now sat in silence, bound to a wheelchair after a car accident that had left her paralyzed from the waist down. Doctors had tried everything. Surgeons, specialists, and even experimental treatments had been flown in at Hayes's expense. But Emily's spirit had crumbled faster than her body could heal. She no longer spoke much. She no longer smiled. And the most heartbreaking part? She no longer believed life was worth living. Hayes, the man who thought he could buy solutions to any problem, could only watch as his daughter slipped further away, unreachable no matter how much money he threw at the problem. Meanwhile, across town, Daniel Carter lived in a very different world. A single dad working 2 jobs, Daniel's life was measured not in millions but in small victories, like managing to put dinner on the table for his 8-year-old son, Jack, or scraping together enough money to pay rent before eviction notices piled up. He didn't own suits or polished shoes. His world was grease-stained hands from working at the auto shop and late-night exhaustion from delivering packages. But Daniel had something money couldn't buy: resilience, kindness, and a father's instinct to never give up. It was fate, or maybe a miracle, that brought their worlds colliding. One rainy evening, Daniel and Jack stopped at a quiet park on their way home. Jack, playful and energetic, darted ahead to kick at puddles, his laughter echoing through the mist. That's when Jack noticed a girl sitting alone in her wheelchair beneath a tree, her face tilted toward the rain as if she wanted it to wash her away. That girl was Emily Hayes. Jack, innocent and unfiltered, went right up to her. "Why do you look so sad?" he asked. Emily didn't answer. She hadn't spoken to a stranger in months. But Daniel, catching up, quickly apologized for his son's boldness. Still, something about Emily's hollow eyes made Daniel stop. He knelt beside her and, with a gentleness she hadn't felt in a long time, whispered, "You don't have to talk. But I want you to know you're not invisible. You matter." That night was the start of something no doctor, no therapist, and no expensive treatment had managed to spark: hope. Emily, despite herself, couldn't stop thinking about the man who spoke to her like she was a person, not a patient. And when Jack begged to return to the park the next day to see the girl in the chair, Daniel hesitated until he realized maybe his son had seen something he hadn't. Day by day, visit by visit, Emily began to open up, not much at first, just small answers to Jack's endless questions. Then laughter, rare but real. And then, one afternoon, when Daniel found her crying after another failed physical therapy session, he leaned close and whispered words that would change everything: "I'll help you. I don't know how yet, but I promise I won't let you give up." Richard Hayes was furious when he first discovered a random mechanic spending time with his daughter. He stormed into the park, his anger blazing. "Who do you think you are? Do you know who I am? My daughter doesn't need pity from a stranger," he barked at Daniel. But Emily, for the first time in months, raised her voice, weak, trembling, but firm: "Dad, stop. I want him here." That single sentence broke Hayes's pride. For the first time, he realized money wasn't what his daughter needed. She needed someone who saw her, who believed in her. Daniel became that person. He started showing up to her therapy sessions, cheering her on when she wanted to quit. He brought Jack, who made her laugh when pain made her cry. And slowly, incredibly, Emily began to fight again. Not just to move her legs, but to live. It wasn't easy. There were nights Emily screamed in frustration, days she fell and refused to try again, moments when Hayes doubted everything. But Daniel never wavered. "Hope isn't a luxury," he told Hayes one night. "It's survival. And your daughter, she's stronger than both of us." Months passed, and the miracle wasn't in Emily suddenly standing, it was in her spirit returning. Her smile, her laughter, her will to keep trying. And then came the day she surprised everyone by standing, shakily, for a few seconds, clutching Daniel's hands. Hayes wept openly for the first time in years. By the end, the billionaire CEO had learned a truth his money had blinded him to: sometimes the richest man in the room isn't the one with the biggest bank account, but the one with the biggest heart. And Emily, once paralyzed not just in body but in hope, discovered her strength through the love of a single dad and his little boy who simply refused to let her give up. Closing, to join the viewers again at the end. So, what does this story tell us? That healing doesn't always come from hospitals or wealth, but from human connection. That sometimes the greatest miracles begin with the simplest words, "I'll help you." And maybe, just maybe, it's a reminder for all of us that no matter how broken life may feel, hope can find its way back if someone believes in us enough not to let go.